Welcome to Alliance Live, which is our online information and learning portal showcasing examples of innovation and integrated health and social care taking place across Scotland. I'm Jerry Parr. I'm here with Nick Watt at the Alliance HQ in Glasgow. And today we're continuing our series of webinars during Scotland's Co-Production Week. And I'm delighted today to welcome Elke Loeffler and Penny Halliday, who will be speaking about their experiences of developing co-production in Dumfries and Galloway, particularly the Wigtownshire Women and Cancer movement. Elke's a non-executive director of Governance International and a senior lecturer at Strathclyde University. And she co-developed the Governance International Co-Production STAR training, which is a CPD accredited program for public services. And she's delivered co-production training across many health and social care providers in Scotland, including Dumfries and Galloway. And she's worked with us and supported us here at the Alliance in promoting co-production over a number of years in Scotland. Penny's a non-executive director with NHS Dumfries and Galloway. She worked as a further education lecturer for 20 years and went on to develop a grassroots community group delivering support to kinship carers. And this resulted in her being invited by representatives of the Scottish Government to set up a national service, which is now the Scottish Network for Families. And as a result of this, she won the Sheila McKechnie Award for Health and Social Care. She was voted Wigtownshire Woman of the Year and was invited by the then presiding officer of the Scottish Parliament, Sir Alex Ferguson, to be his local champion. Penny joined Dumfries and Galloway NHS Board as a non-exec in 2010 and was appointed as Vice Chair in 2014. She has a particular interest in person-centred care as a result of her own experiences as a breast cancer patient. And I'm looking forward to hearing from her about her journey in establishing the Wigtownshire Women and Cancer movement. As the speakers take us through their presentations, we invite you, the audience, to pose questions using the chat box, and you should find that at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And this will provide us with the questions for our question and answer session after the presentations are over. And that will bring our webinar to a close. So without further ado, can I firstly invite Elke to say a few words about Governance International and the co-production STAR training. And that will link us into the specific work Penny is engaged in, and she'll follow up from Elke. So Elke.
Okay, well, many thanks for this introduction, Jerry. Hello to everybody, and also warm welcome to our webinar. First of all, I'm delighted about this initiative of the Alliance to showcase an important co-production initiative in Scotland. And as Jerry said, before we start with Penny's presentation about her co-production initiative, I'd like to give you a bit of an introduction of how this co-production initiative came about. So this came about from some co-production training which Governance International did with the Health and Social Care Partnership of Dumfries and Galloway. And as Jerry already said, we've been providing co-production training in Scotland for a long time, working originally with the Joint Improvement Team, with the Alliance and with other partners. I'd also like to make you aware of our case study database. In the meantime, we've got more than 70 international co-production case study, including Penny's case study, which is the latest one. We are delighted, so thank you very much, Penny. And a number of them are also featured on the OECD webpage. And we've also done a lot of research and evaluation of co-productions. And again, a number of these reports can be found on our website. So the initiative in Wigtownshire was part of the co-production STAR training, which we did with staff, but also with service users of the partnership. And what you see here is our co-production STAR toolkit. If you look in the middle of the toolkit, you can see that we typically focus on 4 key approaches to co-production, which include co-commissioning, co-design, co-delivery, and co-assess. And you will notice that 3 of these co-production approaches involve citizen voice, but we also include co-delivery because this is about citizen action. And I think Penny is going to talk about a number of co-delivery approaches which have been developed as part of her initiative. So citizen action, we believe, is equally important as citizen voice. What you see in the outer ring of the co-production star is the 5-step approach to develop effective co-production initiatives. And we always start with a mapping exercise. Again, Penny will tell you how we did that in Dumfries and Galloway, because our idea is not to reinvent the wheel, but really build on co-production initiatives which already exist in organizations, in local communities, but also explore opportunities for making them better, deeper, and to build on them with new co-production initiatives. Second step is focus it, which means focusing on those co-production initiatives which are most likely to improve outcomes. Obviously, time and resources are limited. You cannot do everything. And the third step involves putting it in practice, peopling it. And that means asking people a new question, not just what do you need? And that is still an important question to ask, in particular in social care. But we also need to ask a new question, what can you do? And again, this is what Penny has done. Fourth step is marketing it. This involves assessing outcomes to find out what works, what doesn't work, but also development of a co-production charter to agree on how co-producers want to work with each other. And the fifth step, and I think the most challenging step, is growing it, which involves culture change, but also system change, embedding it in outcome-based commissioning. And part of the people it step, that is the third step, are co-production labs, where we give staff the opportunity to experiment with new co-production approaches with people accessing services with local communities. And this is exactly what Penny has done in her local community. So I would like to give the floor to Penny at this stage, because she will tell you how she used the co-production lab as an opportunity to build up a real social movement which supports people affected by cancer by sharing information, signposting, gathering experience to improve the quality of life. Penny, over to you.
Thank you, Elke. As you can see from that slide, we describe ourselves as Wigtownshire Women and Cancer as a social movement which supports people affected by cancer by sharing information, signposting, gathering experiences to improve the quality of life of people affected by cancer. And I think it's important that we've recognised ourselves as a social movement rather than a group. Now, as you can see from the map, we are based in Stranraer, which you can see on this map. And when anybody in the West is diagnosed with cancer of any description, then the cancer journey literally is delivered in Edinburgh. That is where people have to go for the radiotherapy. And most of the chemotherapy will be delivered in Dumfries. And so you can see from a transport point of view, living in a rural area, and this will be the same right across Scotland, that is a big concern for people travelling backwards and forwards, but something that everybody accepts that is necessary if they're going to be able to fulfil their treatment. And so folk basically just get on with it. That's part of it. But for Wigtownshire Women and Cancer, really this is about people going through treatment, but it's also about people post-treatment. So you can see from this little leaflet that this is one of the very first things that we did. We co-produced our tea parties. We held our first tea party as a means of trying to engage with other women affected by cancer in our local area. After we had the first tea party, which was really successful, we decided to call them positivity parties. And we realised from the very first afternoon tea that people really enjoyed being able to just sit, have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, share some cake, and they really valued being able to talk to one another. Now, as Elka's already said, what we did with Governance International for me was really important because it broke down the steps of co-production, as you can see on the co-production explorer. And it really allowed me to think about the approach and what was necessary to really co-produce any sort of change that would be meaningful. And the reason I think that I've got to say that I felt that this would be something that would be worthwhile at my end of the region is based on my own experience having had breast cancer, particularly post-treatment, because there seems to be very little or no support for people post-treatment that is person-centred, that suits everybody, that reaches out into the community. So this part was really important for us to follow this co-production explorer. This it's an example of what we looked at when we were taking part in the training regarding, you know, a questionnaire as to where we thought we were with these different questions, which was very thought-provoking. And which I applied to the co-production model when we were setting things up at first. So it brings us to Wigtownshire Women and Cancer, and our case study really, if you go on to the Governance International website, explains it in some detail. But by following the blueprint for us was really important. I mean, the very first thing is about Governance International talks about people it, and that's really important. And in actual fact, that's really difficult. And I think it's having the confidence to realise that you can people it to begin with. You can choose the folk that you think needs to be sitting round the table, as it were. To get this suggestion or idea off the ground. But you'll find as you go along that then you'll realise that, you know, there should be somebody else that could be part of this. There could be somebody else from the third sector, somebody else from the public sector, somebody else from the private sector that would be really valuable in this co-production. Our co-production in Wigtownshire Women and Cancer started off with support from the Health and Social Care Partnership to get the first tea party off the ground and to get the first meeting off the ground. And from there on, we've had our co-production has taken, it's grown arms and legs, because we started this with no money at all. We had no budget as a community group, and we started fundraising. But by fundraising, we started to raise awareness, and the positivity parties is what we used. That was our model, to engage with local people, to find out what was important for them, what mattered to them regarding their quality of life during their treatment and post-treatment. And that was really where we took things from there. That gave us our foundations of where we needed to go next. We have experienced tremendous success in a short space of time from February this year until now. we've engaged with just over 700 people locally regarding what their cancer experience, what they would like it to look like, and what would make a difference to them. We held a big fashion show, which is what we called it, with 350 people paid to attend. We were inundated with local businesses, big and small, and international businesses wanting to support the fashion show. The models who took part in the fashion show were all people affected by cancer, and it was a huge success. We raised just under £7,000 with that one event, and we have now gone on to co-produce with the local college respite pamper sessions for people who are going through their cancer treatment, and we're using some of the money to pay for that. We're co-producing transcendental meditation training for people, and we're co-producing that with the college and with the Transcendental Meditation Association from Glasgow. And that was really kicked off by Donovan, the famous Donovan, hearing about the work that we were doing and offering to donate some money towards putting this in place locally for local people. So we've come a long way. It's been a lot of hard work. We are engaging further with the Health and Social Care Partnership in the new year. And as I say, once the momentum started, it really grew from there. We assess as we go along what we're doing, and we learn from assessing the service that we've put in place so far. Nobody's in charge, nobody leads this. It's not being led by anybody, but it's owned by everyone, and I think that is the key to this. It's had many challenges along the way, and there are still some barriers and obstacles that we face that we hope that we will be able to remove in the future. But it's been a big success so far, and I'm hoping that it continues to be. This gives you an overview of where we are so far. There's Donovan, who really, that was the biggest shock, that somebody like him would want to support what we were doing. We are also hoping to work with one of the clinical psychologists in the near future who has shown an interest in what we're doing. And Wigtownshire Women and Cancer have got some ideas to make that sort of support for people much more accessible. So we're hoping to work with him in the new year. We have a closed Facebook group, and people post on that Facebook group all the time. And we are hoping to change things through our collective experience and individual experience of our healthcare. So I think it's open for any questions, really.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot, Penny. That was really inspiring. And again, there are more details in the case study which you have kindly provided.
Thank you.
So lots of interesting questions have popped up.
So the first one we've got coming in is, how did you enable people to become involved in the co-production process, considering the difficulties in transport within the rural area?
Well, what we did was with the help of the Health and Social Care Partnership, we advertised. We know what, living here, the best way to reach folk is through the local paper and through social media. So we advertised the first tea party, and lots of people came to the tea party, but people came from the Newton Stewart area, which is 25 miles away, and they came through the Cancer Information Centre in Newton Stewart. It was really through that avenue that they managed to come. But when I was talking about the fashion show, for example, when you look at the case study, you'll see that a local bus company donated their bus and their bus driver so that we could bus people to the fashion show. Our models who were involved in the fashion show, some of them, not all of them, lived in Stranraer. They came from different places, and without that co-production aspect of the transport side of things and the very kind donation locally of the local bus, then we would have had to have paid for that. And what we try to do most of the time is not pay for anything. And we seem to be quite successful and very, very good at that. One of our committee members in particular is very good at managing to get people to offer either their time or their services or resources for free.
Great.
Thank you.
Can I just add to Penny, and I also remember that we facilitated some co-production labs using digital technology. Again, I guess that digital technology in the future will have an even bigger role to play to, you know, to avoid long journeys for people participating in a co-production process.
Well, I think, yes, we used NHS Attend Anywhere. We showcased it at the first tea party as well. And absolutely, one of our committee members comes from the Newton Stewart area, which is 25 miles away. And where we live, you wouldn't get a bus after 6 o'clock at night. So she travels through to our committee meetings using her own car. But we're looking at digital technology as to how we can have our meetings so that she doesn't have to travel. And we're hoping that we can travel through to her maybe twice a year.
Okay. So the second question which has come up is, what were some of the challenges you encountered during the co-production planning process, and what were some of the successes?
Well, if I start with the challenges first, some of the challenges regarding the planning process was trying to do things as cheaply as possible. Trying to get people together during the planning process was also really difficult. I mean, all of these women who are involved with Wigtownshire Women and Cancer, like me, they all work. So we had to have our meetings in the evening. And the very first meeting we had, Tony came through from Governance International, and we had an early evening meeting on a very cold night so that people could come to the meeting. So that's one of the things, is to try and hold meetings so that folk are able to attend them. And it's listening to people and coming up with different solutions so that people are kept in the loop. And what we did come up with is that we use WhatsApp a lot. And the WhatsApp is used so that if somebody, because we have to go with the majority of people who can attend on a certain date at a certain time. So for the others who can't, then we keep them up to date on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, that's really interesting. Shows again the potential of digital technologies. And Penny, could you highlight some of these successes? I know there are some testimonials are already included in the case study, but some other quick wins which you have already achieved?
Well, the success has been, without a doubt, has been the fashion show. It's been huge, absolutely huge. It raised awareness about celebrating, people who have been affected by cancer. Not just people who have been through cancer treatment, but their families as well, in a way that everybody has remarked on how positive that evening was and how emotional it was at times. But it really put Wigtownshire Women and Cancer on the map. We've had a feature covered in Dumfries Galloway Life magazine. They've picked up photographs from the fashion show and done a feature in their magazine, which is amazing. The social media presence has grown and grown since that. We've had local people who have done things like had their heads shaved to raise money for Wigtownshire Women and Cancer. I think the biggest success has been the fact that we've been able to bring people together, and so that we can talk to each other and realise what's important and enlist people in what we're trying to do, albeit just even if it's only to do, you know, one particular aspect and then they can drop off out again. That's been about the biggest success, has been the impact that we're having on our local community. The pamper sessions, for example, at the local college, the college invested themselves in sending their beauty lecturer up to Glasgow to learn, to train in this therapeutic touch therapy for people who have cancer. And that's purely to be able to offer really effective complementary therapy, relaxation, respite for the people who will refer to the college beauty department, and will pay for that through the money we raised. So when you look at the evidence of what people are asking who've been affected by cancer, they're asking for information, they're asking for respite, they're asking for to be able to talk to somebody, they're asking for some sort of support mechanism, probably a buddy system. And so the success of it has been that everybody has bought into what we're trying to do with Wigtownshire Women and Cancer, and they want to be part of it.
Yep. So thanks a lot, Penny, and I think with your answer you have covered already some of the other questions which have been highlighted. But in any case, we are running out of time, so I would suggest that if people have some more specific questions, they can simply contact you or contact Jerry Power or myself. And I would just like to say at the end that I'm actually starting a research project on the challenges of co-production, on the barriers, and most importantly, on how to overcome the barriers. So we would like to continue the conversation, the dialogue with you. And if you have any tips on how to overcome the barriers to co-production, we'd all be very interested, including Penny. But we've come to the end of this really exciting seminar, and I would like to thank you all for your participation, for the exchange we had, and very big thanks goes to Penny. And before we end, Jerry would like to point out an offer which we would like to make to you, because if you now got excited about co-production, think of doing something similar Penny has done. We'd like to offer you some introduction to co-production. Jerry, over to you.
Okay, thanks very much. And thanks to both of you. Penny, I think it's important to say that without your initiative to actually bring in Governance International and the Alliance, I don't think that co-production would have been brought into Dumfries and Galloway without you. So it's really you championing co-production that has actually brought it to this success within Dumfries and Galloway. So I'm in awe of what you've done, because it is fantastic just to see what success you have had in such a short period of time. So I applaud your efforts, and I think every area needs a champion like you.
Thank you. Thank you.
When Penny approached us, both the Alliance and then Governance International, to support the co-production process within Dumfries and Galloway, we were able to offer a number of initial sessions to actually introduce co-production. And you'll see on the slide that there are a number of offerings that the Alliance and Governance International can make in terms of an in-house briefing and also workshops. And there are details there where you can contact me, or indeed you can contact Governance International if you would like to take those forward. So that's an offer, and you can see from Dumfries and Galloway that it can lead to great success in certain areas. So if there is interest from anyone, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll provide you with more details. So in conclusion then, if you do want to contact any of us about anything, not just the training, but anything further on co-production, please do so. We're delighted to have Elke and Penny speaking to us today, and we'd like to thank you for participating in this webinar. and for participating in Co-Production Week. So thank you very much indeed, and we'll say cheerio for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.